Okay, so to question 2 from Rupesh. I want to add a customized button just in front of a field, not on a toolbar as shown in the picture attached here within. So again, there was a picture, and now you're going to see it again in the form in a moment. So this is the question I actually spent a little more time on, because during the live session I just showed a few snippets of code, how you would open a modal window, how you could copy some data, and that was it. So I've actually gone and created a few buttons this time. So, moreover, on the click of that button, a modal control form is to be shown. And after the processing and closure of that modal form, some values are to be transferred to the fields of the calling form. For example, in the attached picture, the called modal form may search for a GSTIN number and auto feed the same in the respective field of the calling form. Okay, so a long question, and of course, as I said, this actually took me quite a bit of time, and thankfully I actually had a snippet available already, because I had partially built something similar to this a few weeks ago, just not with a modal window. I hadn't thought of adding a modal window, and in that case it wasn't really needed. But anyway, let's dive into Scriptcase, and here we are back within my project, and this is in fact my own samples project, where I have just a little play around when I get a chance to. And during the live session, what I had done is I had gone and copied here the edit users. And the reason why I had copied this application was because I had basically created a password generator within the form. So if I go ahead and run this form, which is then the edit users, we have the default form. And what I had done was create an extra field which then had a password that was generated that you could regenerate if you wanted to, and then copy that with click of the button into the password fields, so that the password was automatically generated basically, and if you wanted to use it, you could use it and apply it, and straight away you have a nice 24 character super secure password for your portal, for your account, which was really nice. Now, that was part of the code that I had shared. And that was then also button number 1 here. So this is then the copy password. So what I'm going to do is, in this form, I'm going to add here a name. So I'll say David is going to be the login name. And what I'm going to do then is click here the copy password button, and you will see there you have a pop-up password copy to clipboard, and now I can paste in a password that is generated or created. At the moment it's a static password, and on the live form of course it was a generated password. In this case it's just static, and of course you can then adjust that to whatever you want. So that is something then by click of a button copied from a variable into the clipboard and then pasted manually into your form. Now, the question actually asks how to open a modal window. So the next button, of course, on this button, it opens us a modal window. So there we have step 1. But then within this modal window, really what we want to do is copy some data that is maybe already existing inside of this form. Now when the modal window closes, because the close button isn't working, which is nice, and of course right now it's not wanting to close. Very nice. And of course we can just load up the form again, can't we? And then with the form running again, of course, we know then we have here a modal button, and that opens then a modal window. Now, as I had started, I placed David in here. I could maybe say David Smith, for instance. And now what I want to do is then come here for the modal window and set the field value, which is taken then here from my login and then placed here into my name field. And you see that then basically as I click it, it basically happened at the same time, and then I can close then my modal window. Okay, so that was not very easy to put together. I'm going to be honest. It actually took me a day in total for because the password one here took me about half a day at the time, and then here the two modal buttons are actually taken me maybe 2, 4, 6, 8 hours in total. Okay, because these two have just taken me another 2, 3 hours to put together. Okay, so I'm going to show you how, or actually show you the code. Yes, I'm sorry, there's no project with the Q&A, so you're just going to have to copy the code and replicate what I've done, I'm afraid. Otherwise, of course, reach out to the email address that was displayed there on the front screen. You'll see it again, don't worry. And you can, of course, ask me for the snippet and I'll be happy to send it to you. Otherwise, of course, become a member over at Scriptcase by Jamie, and there is a ton of code and snippets there available for you. And of course, this is one of those I will be placing there also. Okay, so we have a field button, and as you'll see, it is a straight label field. Nothing special, the same as the modal button, as well as then the modal button copy. Yes, the 3 buttons we had seen just a few moments ago here within our form. Okay, so back here within our form, once we've created the field where we want to place the modal button, we then need to come here to our events and then here on load. And as I'm already using the form for editing of users, well, it already has a load of code. So what I have placed in here is, first of all, this one here, which is a method for the modal style. Okay, style of the modal window. Okay, and then down here, you'll come down here, the password rules. This is where the Scriptcase code finishes. And then here I have, first of all, the first button I placed here, and then the actual buttons that we have now. So we have here our field button, and there we have within that some HTML code, as well as then the JavaScript, which is then required to copy here my gen password variable, which is here my password that I have then created or generated as a variable, and that will then update and insert that for me. Now with the modal window, it's slightly different because we're not copying anything here, and we're just opening a modal window. So we have here our button, and then we have our modal window context here, as well as then the script to handle the opening and closing of the modal window. Now the closing, you may want to check that out because as you're seeing, it was not working very well. So then we have here our modal button copy, and that is then our third and final button here, and you can see that has then our button inside of here with then the modal window as well as a button also. And here we are not only dealing with the script for the modal window, but then also the function or script to deal with the copying of our field value and then placing that into another field. And you can see here how I'm basically doing that, and I do have some console logging in here as well because yeah, like I said, it took me a little time to put together and I had to debug some as well. So that can all go now basically, and otherwise the field is set here by using the get element by ID. I grab then the field value of that, the ID value of the field. So within our form, I do then need to inspect then the field value, grab then the ID, and then I'm grabbing the data from the login field ID here and placing it then into the name field ID. And just like that, we can then use JavaScript to copy and replicate, transfer, and just do pretty much whatever you want, because Scriptcase, well, it allows you to do pretty much whatever you want. So with that, you have not only a button that copies from a variable, and you can adjust that so it copies that password directly into the field, because that is actually how I have it on the original at the moment. And then of course adjust it with a modal window if you want to, and however you like. And as you see, it's very easy to apply and works every single time, just like Scriptcase. Okay, so let's dive in then to the result of that. So yes, add a new field as a text or even a label, because if it's a text field you will need to set it as read only, and sometimes that doesn't work very well, so maybe a label would be the better option there. And then within the events you can add your button assigned to the field and add your JavaScript, and off you go. Now, I didn't actually show you the method there now, did I? So let me come back here and show you the method there very quickly. So down here in programming and PHP methods, we then have here the modal button, and that just includes the styling then for the modal window, and that can then of course be customized further and reducing then the code available here within the event. So I just call that then here with modal button, even though it's got nothing to do with it, but at the same time, I guess it does. So we can add more styling in there if you wanted to, and customize the buttons and even the entire application further if we wanted to.